Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're building on the incredible foundation we laid in our previous 2 deep dives into Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
That's right.
In parts 1 and 2, we explored what he calls the private victory. Those crucial habits like being proactive, beginning with the end in mind, and putting first things first. These habits are all about self-mastery, personal discipline, developing your inner strength, essentially getting your own house in order. They're the foundation, right?
Absolutely. Covey is incredibly clear on this point, emphasizing that private victories precede public victories. He tells us it's futile to put personality ahead of character, to try to improve relationships with others before improving ourselves.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's a foundational concept that making and keeping promises to ourselves precedes making and keeping promises to others. That personal integrity and strength, the discipline of your own independent will, really form the bedrock for everything that follows. Without that strong internal core, our external interactions often falter.
And today, we're finally shifting gears, moving from self-mastery to what Covey calls the public victory.
Okay.
This is where we transition from individual independence to the exciting, sometimes challenging, but ultimately rewarding world of interdependence. It's all about working effectively with others, building deeply trusting relationships, and truly collaborating.
Right.
Our mission today is to explore the 3 habits that govern this public victory. Habit 4, think win-win. Habit 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. And habit 6, synergize.
The big 3 for working with others.
Exactly. This is truly a masterclass in collaboration and communication, a roadmap for how we interact with the world around us once we've established our own internal strength.
What's fascinating here is that the moment you step from independence into interdependence, in any capacity, whether that's at home, with friends, or in a professional setting, Covey says, you step into a leadership role. You are in a position of influencing other people.
Interesting. So just by interacting, you're leading in some way?
In a sense, yes. And the very first habit that guides that effective interpersonal leadership, the one that sets the stage for all meaningful interaction, is indeed think win-win.
Okay.
It's about more than just getting along. It's about shaping the entire context of your interactions, ensuring a positive, productive environment from the outset.
Think win-win, the mindset of mutual benefit.
Okay, let's unpack this. Think win-win sounds almost deceptively simple, like something you'd hear in a basic negotiation class. But Covey makes it clear that it's so much more than just a fleeting tactic or a strategy to get a good deal. How does he really define this core philosophy for human interaction, and why is it so fundamental?
Well, he describes it as a total philosophy of human interaction, one that constantly seeks mutual benefit in all human interaction.
Constantly.
Yeah. The ultimate goal is to arrive at mutually beneficial, mutually satisfying agreements or solutions where all parties feel good about the decision and feel committed to the action plan.
So everyone buys in?
Exactly. This isn't just about compromise where everyone gives up something. It's about finding a solution that genuinely serves everyone's best interests, so much so that they're truly invested in seeing it through. Fundamentally, it sees life as a cooperative, not a competitive arena.
It's a huge shift.
It is. It's a profound shift in perspective for many people who are often conditioned to believe that someone has to lose for someone else to win. It challenges our ingrained zero-sum thinking.
Right.
For Covey, win-win is a belief in the third alternative. It's not your way or my way. It's a better way, a higher way.
A third way.
This is critical because it implies creativity, innovation, and a collaborative search for something entirely new, rather than simply compromising between 2 existing positions. It's deeply rooted in the paradigm that there is plenty for everybody, that one person's success is not achieved at the expense or exclusion of the success of others.
The abundance mentality, right?
Yeah, precisely. This abundance mentality, as he calls it, is the antithesis of scarcity thinking. It's the belief that the pie can actually get bigger, that resources aren't finite, and that success can expand to include everyone, rather than being a limited commodity to be fought over. It truly reframes our understanding of opportunity.
That makes so much sense. We're constantly bombarded with messages that reinforce a scarcity mindset. Only one winner, only so much money, only so many opportunities. So what does this all mean when we contrast this philosophy with the more common, sometimes destructive win-lose scenarios that we often see play out not just in business, but in our everyday lives? It feels like win-lose is almost the default setting for many.
You're absolutely right. It often is the default. Covey highlights win-lose as the paradigm of the race to Bermuda, A clear if I win, you lose mentality.
A race to Bermuda.
Mm.
Catchy.
It is. This is typically an authoritarian approach where individuals use position, power, credentials, possessions, or personality to get their way. It's about leveraging whatever advantage you have to dominate, to come out on top, regardless of the impact on the other party.
Yeah.
He argues that most people have been deeply scripted in the win-lose mentality since birth, and this even happens through seemingly innocuous familial interactions where love is given on a conditional basis.
Oh, wow.
This teaches individuals that their value does not lie inside them, it lies outside, or is found only in comparison to others, fostering a constant competitive drive. It's a deep cultural conditioning that tells us if we're not winning, we're losing, and that our worth is tied to external validation or outperforming others.
And what about the other patterns Covey discusses? I know he also touches on lose-win and lose-lose. How do those fit into this spectrum?
Good question. Lose-win, which Covey calls the doormat approach, is about seeking popularity or acceptance. The person is quick to please, to give in, to avoid conflict.
Trying to be the nice guy.
Right. While it might seem nice on the surface, it's ultimately not effective because it builds resentment. The lose-win person often suppresses their own needs and feelings, which erodes their self-esteem and the long-term health of the relationship.
Yeah, that can fester.
It really can.
Yeah.
They might gain short-term acceptance, but they lose their own voice and integrity. And then there's lose-lose, which is truly tragic. This is where both parties are so focused on getting back at each other or so locked into a competitive battle that they're willing to sacrifice their own interests just to ensure the other person also loses.
Ooh, scorched earth.
Pretty much. It's the mindset of, if I go down, you're coming with me. Think of bitter divorces or stalemated wars. It's a destructive spiral fueled by revenge or an inability to see any other way out. All of these, from win-lose to lose-win and lose-lose, are ultimately unsustainable in building effective long-term relationships.
That distinction between all the different paradigms is incredibly helpful. It really clarifies why win-win is not just an ideal, but a necessary foundation. Let's look at some powerful real-world examples that really illustrate the pitfalls and the ultimate unsustainability of the win-lose trap. We see it so often in the business world, sometimes almost glorified as a sign of toughness.
We do. Take the infamous Wall Street culture, as vividly depicted in books like Den of Thieves, The Big Short, Liar's Poker. We read about Michael Milken's philosophy of Drexel backs winners and Boesky's a winner, which clearly prioritized individual high-stakes success regardless of the ethical implications.
Just back the winner no matter what.
Pretty much. There was even a concept of jamming bonds, where a trader intentionally screwed the customer, and shockingly, people would respect that.
Wow. Respected for screwing the customer.
It's hard to believe, but yeah. This demonstrates a deeply ingrained win-lose mentality, where exploiting others was seen as a skill, a sign of being a shark. The idea was to take every advantage possible, often at the expense of others, and it fostered an environment of mistrust.
That's a powerful and disturbing example. The idea that disrespecting customers was something to be admired really highlights the toxicity of that mindset.
Exactly. And it wasn't just individual traders. Liar's Poker specifically details the pervasive mistrust of the sellers by the buyers in the bond market, and how profits to be had from smart people making complicated bets overwhelmed anything that could be had from servicing customers or allocating capital to productive enterprise.
So the actual service didn't matter as much.
Alarmingly, the customers became, oddly, beside the point. This is win-lose taken to its extreme, where the very purpose of a service business is subverted for individual gain, leading to systemic failures and a complete erosion of trust. When the customer, the very source of your business, becomes irrelevant, you've lost sight of any win-win possibility.
And it wasn't just on Wall Street. We saw this manifest in corporate malfeasance, like the Enron scandal detailed in The Smartest Guys in the Room.
Absolutely. Enron's culture was a prime example of a profound failure of the win-win paradigm, where profits from complicated bets overwhelmed anything that could be had from servicing customers.
Right. The complex financial stuff took over.
Exactly. The company prioritized speculative gains, often through questionable accounting practices, and a relentless focus on its stock price over its foundational relationships with employees, partners, and ultimately the market. Ken Lay's reliance on spinmeisters instead of transparency, his gamble that he could contain the damage with public relations after making questionable decisions, ultimately led to organizational collapse.
When House of Cards fell.
It did. It was an attempt to win at all costs, But it backfired spectacularly, proving that such short-term gains are rarely sustainable when they come at the expense of integrity and mutual benefit. The entire ecosystem of Enron collapsed because it was built on a series of win-lose interactions, where only a few at the top were perceived to be winning until no one was.
That brings to mind the classic game theory problem, the prisoner's dilemma, which reinforces why win-lose is ultimately unsustainable in ongoing relationships. It seems like a theoretical model that perfectly captures these real-world failures.
Precisely. The art of strategy explains that in the prisoner's dilemma, cheating may gain one player a short-term advantage, but this can harm the relationship and create a longer-run cost.
The long game suffers.
Exactly. This is the core reason why a purely win-lose approach is untenable in any enduring interaction, whether between individuals, companies, or even nations. If one party always seeks to exploit the other, trust erodes, future cooperation becomes impossible, and both parties ultimately suffer. It incentivizes defection and ultimately leads to suboptimal outcomes for all parties involved over time.
Yeah.
It's a powerful illustration of why we need to move beyond that competitive framework, especially when we anticipate repeated interactions with the same people.
So, what does this all mean for someone wanting to adopt this philosophy in their own life and work? How do we actively cultivate this win-win character and build relationships that are genuinely based on mutual benefit? It sounds like it requires a fundamental shift in our internal programming.
It absolutely does. Covey argues that a character rich in integrity, maturity, and the abundance mentality has a genuineness that goes far beyond technique.
It's not just faking it.
No, it's not about learning a script or a set of clever tactics. It's about developing an inner disposition, a deeply held belief system. To develop this, he suggests you associate with some model or mentor who really thinks win-win.
Find someone who lives it.
Right. This provides a tangible, living example to learn from, someone who embodies these principles. He also recommends reading literature and seeing movies that expose you to models of win-win, offering inspiring narratives that can reshape our own internal scripting and show us that a different way of interacting is possible and successful.
Immerse yourself in it.
The goal is to see these principles in action and internalize them, making them part of your character. This cultivation of character then naturally leads to building and maintaining win-win relationships.
Okay.
And here, trust, the emotional bank account, is the essence of win-win.
The emotional bank account. Let's quickly recap that.
Sure. It's Covey's powerful metaphor for the level of trust built in a relationship. Deposits are made through genuine courtesy, kindness, honesty, keeping commitments.
The good stuff.
Exactly. And withdrawals are made through disrespect, breaking promises, or showing unkindness. Covey states explicitly that without a high balance in this emotional bank account, the best we can achieve is compromise, which is often a lower-level solution where everyone gives up something they truly value.
Not the ideal third alternative.
No. Without that deep reservoir of trust, we lack the credibility for open mutual learning and communication and real creativity. So actively making those deposits and building that trust is paramount for win-win outcomes.
That analogy of the emotional bank account is so clear and actionable, you immediately understand how important it is. Let's explore some examples of how leaders and organizations have successfully built this win-win environment, leading to genuine, lasting collaboration. Howard Schultz's leadership at Starbucks, for instance, seems to embody this principle.
It truly does. And pour your heart into it, Schultz details how he won employee confidence by being honest with them, to share my plans and excitement, and then to follow through and keep my word, delivering exactly what I promised, if not more.
Following through is key.
Absolutely. This consistency and integrity built the crucial trust needed for a win-win culture at Starbucks, where employees felt valued and understood, not just as cogs in a machine, but as partners in the company's success. He understood that actions speak louder than words in fostering loyalty and commitment, and that investing in his people, through benefits and open communication, created a powerful return.
Made huge deposits in their account.
It's a classic example of making massive deposits into the emotional bank account of his workforce.
Yeah.
Another insightful perspective comes from The Richest Man in Babylon, which advises to seek to associate thyself with men and enterprises whose success is established that thy treasure may earn liberally under their skillful use and be guarded safely by their wisdom and experience.
Ancient wisdom there.
It is. This isn't just about financial gain, but about finding mutually beneficial collaborations where everyone's assets, whether that's capital, expertise, or experience, are respected, leveraged, and protected. It's an ancient wisdom that points to the power of aligning with those who operate with integrity and competence, ensuring that the benefit flows in both directions.
A rising tide lifts all boats.
Exactly. It's about creating that rising tide.
That's a fascinating link to ancient wisdom, showing these principles aren't new. And even on a broader societal level, this idea of voluntary mutual benefit seems crucial for a thriving society.
Absolutely. The Road to Serfdom discusses the idea that voluntary cooperation with his neighbors will produce good. This showcases the power of consensual, mutually beneficial interactions in a free society, where individuals choose to work together because it serves their shared interests rather than being coerced. These examples all highlight that win-win isn't just a soft concept for personal relationships. It's a deeply practical and powerful way to organize human endeavor for lasting success, from individuals to entire economic systems. It unlocks societal prosperity.
Seek first to understand, then to be understood, empathetic communication.
So once we commit to this win-win philosophy, that intention for mutual benefit, how do we practically apply it in our daily interactions? What's the secret to truly connecting with others, especially when navigating complex or emotionally charged situations? It feels like the next step is all about communication, but a very specific kind of communication.
You've hit on it perfectly. This habit, seek first to understand, then to be understood, is fundamentally about empathetic listening.
Empathetic listening, okay.
Covey states that to relate effectively with a wife, a husband, children, friends, or working associates, we must learn to listen, and this requires emotional strength.
Emotional strength to listen. Interesting.
Yeah, because this isn't passive listening, where you're just waiting for your turn to speak. It's an active, effortful engagement that requires you to silence your own internal monologue and truly immerse yourself in another's perspective. He explains that listening involves patience, openness, and the desire to understand highly developed qualities of character.
Patience, openness, desire to understand.
Exactly. It's so much easier to operate from a low emotional level and to give high-level advice, to jump to solutions or to tell someone what they should do.
A quick fix.
Right. But true understanding requires resisting that impulse and truly sitting with and trying to grasp their world. It demands a level of inner security that allows you to be vulnerable enough to learn.
And this habit is also deeply about humility.
Oh, absolutely. Covey says if you don't let a teacher know what level you are by asking a question or revealing your ignorance, you will not learn or grow. This applies equally to our everyday conversations. If we pretend to understand or are unwilling to expose our own lack of knowledge by asking clarifying questions, we prevent genuine connection and hinder effective problem solving.
So, admit when you don't get it.
Yes. It means approaching conversations with an open mind, ready to be influenced, ready to learn, and willing to admit when you don't fully grasp another person's experience or viewpoint. It's about putting your ego aside for the sake of true connection.
That's a crucial point, the humility aspect. It's not just about hearing the words, but about sensing the underlying emotions and context, which requires that emotional strength you mentioned. How does this deep empathetic understanding translate into building stronger relationships? And crucially, how does it help us resolve conflict, especially when facing deep disagreements?
Well, Covey emphasizes that even when dealing with a person who is coming from a win-lose paradigm, the relationship is still the key.
Even then, okay.
Yes. In these challenging situations, you make deposits into the emotional bank account through genuine courtesy, respect, and appreciation for that person and for the other point of view.
Even if you disagree.
Even if you fundamentally disagree. This means actively validating their perspective, making them feel heard and understood, even if you don't agree with their conclusion. You stay longer in the other's frame of reference, resisting the urge to pull them immediately to your side, and instead truly sitting with and trying to grasp their world, their motivations, their fears.
Really try to see it their way first.
Exactly. This builds trust, slowly but surely, which then creates the psychological safety for them to perhaps eventually open up to a mutually beneficial solution. You're demonstrating that you value them and their perspective before pushing your own agenda.
That takes incredible discipline, especially when you feel strongly about your own point of view. Let's look at some powerful examples of empathetic communication in practice, starting with how it builds team trust, as seen in the 5 dysfunctions of a team.
Lencioni's work. It clearly shows that great teams do not hold back with one another. They are unafraid to air their dirty laundry. They admit their mistakes, their weaknesses, and their concerns without fear of reprisal.
That requires huge trust.
Immense trust. This level of vulnerability, this openness, is only possible when there's that foundation. He points out, if we don't trust one another, then we cannot be the kind of team that ultimately achieves results.
Makes perfect sense.
The example of Catherine, the CEO, giving calm but direct feedback to Mikey, "You don't seem to respect your colleagues,"
Yeah.
illustrates how confronting issues honestly, empathetically, and for the sake of the team, even if difficult, fosters understanding and ultimately builds that essential trust.
She didn't shy away, but did it carefully.
Exactly. She sought to understand Mikey's behavior, then delivered her perspective in a way that fostered trust rather than defensiveness. It's about being candid for the sake of the relationship and the team's success, which requires profound understanding.
Ray Dalio's approach to organizational honesty, as described in Principles, Life, and Work, also advocates for this kind of open, probing communication, suggesting it's a systematic way to deepen understanding.
Dalio is a huge proponent of welcoming probing because, as he says, no one can see themselves objectively.
We all have blind spots.
We do. He stresses the importance of staying calm during these discussions, even when challenged, maintaining a mindset of genuine curiosity. He also advises us to train your ear for verbal cues, like the anonymous "we" as in "we made a mistake," which often indicates a depersonalized mistake, a sign that someone isn't taking full ownership.
Little tells.
Right. And crucially, he says to make your probing transparent so others can assess the quality of the questioning itself, reinforcing a culture of truth and transparency. This is all about ensuring that we truly understand the reality of a situation by encouraging everyone to speak up, question, and challenge ideas without fear, all stemming from a desire to understand what is true.
This principle also extends to how we manage our relationships with those above us. As the classic "managing your boss" suggests, it's not just about understanding peers or subordinates.
Absolutely. One powerful example from that source details a manager who deeply understood his boss, the VP of engineering, noting that the VP was not very good at monitoring employee problems.
Recognized a weakness.
Yes. So instead of complaining or waiting for the boss to fail, the manager proactively made a point of doing it himself, identifying and compensating for that weakness in a way that supported the boss's overall objectives.
Filled the gap.
Exactly. This keen understanding of his boss's needs and limitations led the boss to value his advice and credit his subordinate for improving both the performance of the division and the labor management climate. This is a powerful illustration of seeking to understand a boss's needs, identifying gaps, and then filling them constructively, which builds immense trust and a more effective working relationship for both parties.
It's proactive empathy.
It really is an act of deep empathy and proactive support.
And when it comes to giving effective feedback, whether in a performance review or daily interactions, this habit is crucial, as noted in Harvard Business Review, 20-Minute Manager and High Output Management. It sounds like feedback is a two-way street of understanding.
Indeed. The advice is to give feedback soon after you observe a behavior you want to discuss, rather than letting it fester.
Don't wait months.
Right. The goal is to ensure there are no surprises at a performance review, but if one arises, you must deliver it with clarity and care. This approach relies on ongoing, clear communication, rooted in a genuine desire for the other person's growth and improvement.
It's about helping them improve.
Exactly. It requires the giver of feedback to first understand the context, the impact of the behavior, and the receiver's perspective, then to articulate their observations in a way that the receiver can truly understand and act upon. It's about proactive understanding and support, not just judgment.
Customer-centric learning is another area where seeking to understand first has led to remarkable success. Think about Peapod's early days, the online grocery delivery service, as highlighted in "Do You Want to Keep Your Customers Forever?"
Oh yeah, Peapod. Their success came from deeply eliciting information from each customer about his or her specific needs and preferences. By actively asking, "How did we do on the last order?"
They actually asked.
And people answered. They achieved an incredible 35% response rate to their surveys, far surpassing the industry average, precisely because they were genuinely seeking to understand and act on the feedback.
That's huge for a survey.
It is. This feedback-driven learning led to practical changes like offering half-hour window deliveries for an additional fee and accepting detailed requests for items like ripe or unripe tomatoes.
Little things that make a big difference.
Exactly. This is a clear example of deeply seeking to understand customer needs and preferences, then adapting services to match them, building immense customer loyalty in the process. They didn't just sell groceries, they sold an understanding of their customers' lives.
That's powerful.
This also ties into strategic marketing. As Ted Levitt's distinction in the Ultimate Business Library between selling and marketing illustrates, he defines marketing not as simply pushing a product, but as a tightly integrated effort to discover, create, arouse, and satisfy customer needs.
Marketing starts with understanding.
Absolutely. This underscores the fundamental necessity of truly understanding the customer as the starting point for any successful business endeavor. It's about being led by the market, by understanding what people truly value and need rather than just producing something and hoping it sells. The emphasis is entirely on the customer's perspective, not the company's.
And on a broader leadership level, emotional intelligence plays a huge role in this, as Daniel Goleman details in What Makes a Leader. It sounds like empathy is the linchpin.
Goleman explains that social skill is the culmination of the other dimensions of emotional intelligence, especially the ability to empathize with the feelings of others.
Understanding the emotions.
Yes. Leaders need to make judgment calls that require a candid assessment of capabilities, their own and those of others. Self-aware leaders, those who can honestly assess their own strengths and weaknesses, are well suited to do the same for the organizations they run.
Know thyself to understand others.
Pretty much. This self-awareness and empathy allow them to truly hear and understand others, not just intellectually, but emotionally, which is vital for effective collaboration, motivating teams, and making nuanced, people-centric decisions. They can connect with people on a deeper level, discerning unspoken needs or concerns.
Even in situations of disagreement, this habit can transform conflict into better outcomes, as Peter Drucker highlights in The Effective Executive, and as echoed by Karl Popper's philosophy in The Black Swan. It almost sounds like disagreement can be an opportunity.
It absolutely can. Drucker points out that the effective decision-maker organizes disagreement and has a commitment to find out why people disagree.
Organizes disagreement. That's interesting.
It is. This isn't about avoiding conflict, but about leveraging it constructively, seeking to understand the root causes and diverse perspectives. He believes that disagreement converts the plausible into the right and the right into the good decision.
Makes the final decision stronger.
Exactly. This resonates deeply with Karl Popper's concept of an open society that relies on skepticism as a modus operandi, refusing and resisting definitive truths, encouraging deep questioning before acceptance. It's about valuing diverse perspectives not as obstacles, but as pathways to richer, more robust solutions, because you've taken the time to truly understand the different arguments.
That's a powerful idea. That skepticism and organized disagreement, when fueled by a desire to understand, lead to better decisions. Finally, in high-stakes environments like the Navy SEALs, effective communication based on understanding is absolutely critical, as Extreme Ownership describes. Here, it's literally a matter of life or death.
In the SEALs, subordinate leaders are expected to lead and make decisions, and are trusted that their assessment and their decisions would be aggressive in pursuit of mission accomplishment.
High trust, high stakes.
Very high. But this trust is built on a foundation of open communication and mutual understanding. Troops are explicitly encouraged to ask for clarification, taking ownership of their role, and leading up the chain of command by providing constructive feedback.
So speaking up is encouraged, even demanded.
Yes. This creates a culture where information flows freely, understanding is prioritized, and every team member feels empowered and responsible for ensuring clarity, even in life or death situations. It's a powerful testament to the necessity of mutual understanding in achieving mission success. If a team member doesn't understand, they're expected to speak up, ensuring everyone is literally on the same page for the mission.
Synergize creative cooperation and the third alternative.
So if Think Win-Win sets the intention for mutual benefit and Seek First to Understand provides us with the essential communication tools to truly connect with others, what happens when these two powerful habits truly click and are applied consistently? What's the next level of collective achievement beyond just understanding?
This is where Synergize comes in, the habit of creative cooperation. It's where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
The classic definition of synergy.
Right. But it's more than just a buzzword. Synergy isn't just about compromise, where everyone gives up a little. It's about openly valuing differences, appreciating those different perspectives and strengths, and combining them in new ways to find the third alternative, the synergistic solution. That will be a better answer for both of us, and often better than either of our original ideas.
Something new emerges.
Exactly. It actively leverages the abundance mentality paradigm to create positive cooperative energy focused on thoroughly understanding the issue and resolving them in a mutually beneficial way. It's an almost magical process where new solutions, previously unimagined, emerge from respectful collaboration, leading to breakthroughs that wouldn't have been possible otherwise. Covey connects this back to our foundational work on the private victory. He notes that the daily private victory, our commitment to personal renewal in the physical, spiritual, and mental dimensions, provides the intrinsic security needed to focus on your circle of influence in interdependent situations.
Inner strength enables outer collaboration.
Precisely. This intrinsic security allows us to look at others through the abundance mentality paradigm, to genuinely value their differences, and to be happy for their success. This self-mastery, that inner strength and sense of worth we discussed in the earlier deep dives, is the foundation to work for genuine understanding and for synergetic win-win solutions.
Makes sense. You need to be secure yourself to be open to others' ideas.
Absolutely. Without that inner strength, it's very difficult to be open enough to truly value differences, to listen without judgment, and to create synergy, because you're too busy trying to protect your own position or ego.
That connection back to the private victory is so important. It highlights that these public victories aren't just techniques, they're an outflow of who you are. Let's look at how organizations and teams successfully achieve this creative cooperation and foster synergistic environments. It sounds like the ultimate goal of effective teamwork.
It absolutely is. Consider the concept of team accomplishment from Kim Scott's Radical Candor. It speaks of the profound pleasure of being part of a team where everyone loves their job and loves working together, and the understanding that together you will accomplish things that you could never do individually.
That feeling of being part of something bigger.
Exactly. It redefines the role of a boss as offering yourself as a partner to your direct reports, shifting from a hierarchical command and control to a collaborative, supportive dynamic. This partnership approach, where each team member's unique contributions are genuinely valued and integrated, unleashes collective potential, leading to outcomes far beyond what any single person could achieve.
It's a celebration of combined strengths.
Yes. And in effective teams, as described in the discipline of teams, decisions are made by the appropriate people, not always by consensus or top-down decree.
Not always the boss or everyone agreeing.
Right. What's fascinating is that leadership and choice-making shifts and is shared among the members based on their talent, skill, experience, and assigned work task.
Flexible leadership?
Exactly. This flexibility is key to synergy. For example, if a team is developing a new product, the design decisions might be led by the creative experts, while the manufacturing decisions are led by the operations specialists. This leverages complementary skills for optimal results, demonstrating that synergy isn't just about agreement, but about intelligent, adaptive collaboration, where the best fit for a task emerges organically from the team's combined capabilities.
This principle also extends to strategic partnerships, as detailed in strategic flexibility. It's not just internal teams, but external relationships as well.
Absolutely. When firms provide strategic inputs, meaning essential components or services, true strategic partnerships become necessary. This requires a high degree of coordination and multiple function-to-function interfaces between supplier and buyer. Lots of connection points, many. For example, design engineers from both sides must coordinate closely for flawless product fit. Sales organizations must share marketing information to understand joint customer needs, and manufacturing engineers must work together to ensure easy assembly of components. This deep integration, including investments in dedicated plant and equipment, dedicated personnel, creates profound synergy, ensuring that the final product or service is far superior to what could be achieved if the firms operated in isolation.
Collaboration across companies.
Critically, firm-wide competence emerges from integrating insights and ideas via experimental learning from frontline individuals, showcasing how collective knowledge creation is inherently synergistic. It's about combining diverse expertise across organizational boundaries to create something truly greater than the sum of its parts.
The concept of integrative thinking, from playing to win, also beautifully illustrates synergistic problem solving, which goes beyond simply picking the best existing option.
Integrative thinkers, when faced with difficult choices between existing options, don't just pick one or compromise. Instead, they build a new model that is superior to both models but contains elements of each.
Create a whole new option.
Exactly. They creatively synthesize, finding a both-and approach that transcends the apparent trade-off. This approach, also highlighted in Red Ocean Traps as crucial for market-creating strategy, where you create entirely new markets rather than just competing in existing ones, is the very essence of synergistic problem-solving.
The third alternative again.
It is. It's about creating new possibilities, a true third alternative, rather than being limited by existing, often restrictive trade-offs. It's where innovation truly takes flight.
It seems like organizational processes themselves, when well designed, are intended to foster this kind of synergy.
Precisely. How will you measure your life explains that organizations create value as employees transform resources into products and services of greater worth. The ways in which those employees interact, coordinate, communicate, and make decisions are known as processes.
Processes are the engine.
Right. These processes, when designed well, are the very engine of synergy, orchestrating individual efforts into collective value creation. They ensure that specialized tasks are integrated into a coherent whole, leading to a product or service that no single individual could produce alone. This is further reinforced by Think and Grow Rich, which states the fundamental principle that power comes from organized effort.
Organized effort equals power.
Synergy provides the organizational power needed for truly great achievements.
Alfred Sloan's meticulous meeting management at General Motors, described in my years with General Motors, is a practical example of organizing effort to achieve synergy at a massive scale.
Sloan was a master of this. He would announce the meeting's purpose, then listen intently, rarely speaking himself except for clarification, making sure he fully understood every perspective.
He listened more than talked.
Mostly. At the end, he summed up, thanked the participants, and left. Then immediately wrote memos assigning work and accountability to a specific attendee with a clear deadline.
Action-oriented.
Very. This systematic approach facilitated highly organized, coordinated efforts across a vast, complex organization. It ensured that discussions translated into clear actions and responsibilities, leading to highly synergistic outcomes where every department's contribution was integrated towards the common goal. He didn't just manage meetings, he engineered synergy.
And Amazon's famous flywheel concept is another celebrated example of a self-reinforcing synergistic cycle that drove massive growth and innovation.
Oh, the flywheel. In the Everything Store, it's described as a virtuous cycle. Lower prices led to more customer visits. More customers increased the volume of sales and attracted more commission-paying third-party sellers to the site. That allowed Amazon to get more out of fixed costs. This greater efficiency then enabled it to lower prices further.
Each part feeds the next.
Exactly. Feed any part of this flywheel like offering more selection or lowering prices, and it accelerates the entire loop. This is a powerful, self-reinforcing, synergistic system where each component enhances and amplifies the others for explosive compounding growth.
Incredible momentum.
It's a testament to how seemingly separate elements, when aligned, create a dynamic whole far greater than the sum of their individual parts.
And synergy isn't just for big corporations, it applies to family collaboration as well, bringing these grand ideas down to a very relatable level.
The North household, from The Millionaire Next Door, serves as a great example. Both partners play active roles in budgeting and spending and plan together and consult with each other regarding expenditures.
Teamwork at home.
Right. This isn't one partner controlling the finances and the other being passive. This illustrates practical, synergistic decision-making for mutual financial benefit within a family unit, showing that these habits are universally applicable. By combining their insights, desires, and discipline, they achieve far greater financial well-being than if they operated in isolation or contention.
Makes sense.
Finally, the importance of investing in people, as the new One-Minute Manager emphasizes, is critical for synergy. The powerful insight that if it's the people who get the results, then it makes good sense to invest more in people. Through positive reinforcement like one-minute praisings, fosters growth and engagement for collective success.
Invest in people to get synergy.
When individuals feel valued, understood, and developed, they contribute more passionately and effectively to the synergistic whole. Connecting the habits, the path to public victory.
So what does this all mean when we bring these three powerful habits? Think win-win, seek first to understand, and synergize together. How do they interlock to create this public victory that Covey talks about? It feels like they're a tightly woven tapestry.
They are deeply interdependent themselves, forming a powerful, sequential, and cyclical framework. Think win-win provides the overarching philosophy and sets the intention for mutual benefit.
The mindset.
Right. It establishes the mindset that there is a better way for everyone and that we can find it. Seek first to understand then gives us the vital communication skills, the empathetic listening and patient probing, to truly gather diverse perspectives, validate others' feelings, and build that essential trust, the emotional bank account, which is the foundation for any meaningful interaction.
The connection piece.
It's the critical step of gathering all the necessary inputs. And then Synergize is the creative engine, the actual process of combining those differences, those varied insights and strengths that you've gathered through understanding to generate new, better, third alternative solutions that benefit everyone, far beyond what any individual could achieve alone.
The breakthrough.
Exactly. It's the breakthrough moment that emerges from the foundation of mutual respect and deep listening. This entire framework, from the private victory through these public victory habits, is part of an upward spiral of growth and change, of continuous improvement, driven by the principle-centered, character-based, inside-out approach.
Always growing.
It ultimately leads to progressively higher forms of responsible independence and effective interdependence, where you are powerful as an individual and exponentially more powerful in collaboration with others. Outro.
What's fascinating here is that true public victory isn't just about finding common ground or settling for a compromise where everyone gives up something. It's about a fundamentally different, more creative way of interacting with others that unlocks entirely new possibilities.
Right.
It's about seeing difference as strength, not a barrier, and using it as fuel for innovation and breakthrough.
And we connect this to the bigger picture. The consistent application of win-win thinking, empathetic understanding, and creative synergy can transform not just individual relationships and small teams, but entire organizations, drive innovation on a grand scale, and even provide pathways to resolve complex societal challenges, leading to solutions previously unimagined.
Huge potential impact.
It's a blueprint for a more effective, harmonious, and productive world, one where the best ideas win, not just the loudest voices.
This raises an important question for you, our listener. How might you approach a long-standing disagreement, a difficult negotiation, or a team challenge differently this week, explicitly focusing on seeking a third alternative and making a deposit into someone's emotional bank account? What's one specific step you could take to move from an us versus them mindset to a truly we outcome, where everyone feels understood, valued, and committed to a shared, superior solution? Perhaps it's simply starting with a genuine question, not an agenda, or actively listening to understand before formulating your response.
Just one small step.
Exactly. We've explored the public victory in depth today, diving into think win-win, seek first to understand, and synergize. Join us next time as we conclude our series on the 7 habits with the final overarching habit, sharpen the saw, which is all about continuous renewal and ensuring we maintain and enhance our capacity for greatness.